Man, some news just hits you, you know? Like, for me, it was hearing that Val Kilmer had died, 65, pneumonia, April 1st, 2025. And it's like, boom, all those iconic roles he played just come rushing back.
Oh, absolutely.
Iceman, that stare in Top Gun, Jim Morrison, just electrifying in The Doors. Even Batman, you know, all brooding and intense.
Right.
Feels like we lost someone really special. And looking at all the stuff you pulled together for us, maybe a leading man who didn't quite get his due while he was here.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. His journey was intense, to say the least.
It seems like it. So where do we even start with a life like that?
Well, the beginning's always a good place.
Right.
He was born December 31st, 1959, Los Angeles. New Year's Eve, baby.
Pretty festive.
Right. Parents were Gladys Juanette Eckstadt and Eugene Doris Kilmer. But they divorced when he was only 8.
Ah, so that early family life was...
Yeah, probably had its complexities. And you found his ancestry, too, which is kind of interesting. Swedish, Irish, German, even Cherokee.
Really?
Yeah, quite the mix. Makes you wonder if that fed into the versatility we saw on screen.
Maybe so. But you also marked this really tragic event in his youth. I mean, losing his younger brother, Wesley, like that.
Awful. Drowning accident in 77. Wesley was only 15.
Just devastating. And Val even spoke about how that loss stayed with him, affected his role in the Salton Sea years later.
Definitely. When something like that happens young, it shapes you, how you see the world, how you approach your art.
Absolutely. But amidst all that, his talent was obvious early on, right?
Oh, yeah. Chatsworth High School, same one Kevin Spacey and Mayor Winningham went to.
No kidding. What a drama program they must have had.
Right. Then he went to Hollywood Professional School. And get this, at 17, he gets into Juilliard.
You're kidding, 17?
Youngest they'd ever accepted at the time. There's a quote you found really telling. He said, "There is no finished in art, like a constant drive to improve."
I love that. And he didn't jump right into movies, did he? That stage background, it's serious.
Oh, totally. Broadway debut in 83, Slab Boys, with Sean Penn and Kevin Bacon, no less.
Wow. Talk about an early cast.
Right. And his love for Shakespeare, playing Hamlet, doing all those productions. He even turned down a role in The Outsiders because of his commitment to theater.
Really? Wild. Think how different things could have been.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? But it shows his priorities, right? That classical training, it's like a foundation for everything that came after.
Makes sense. And then the mid-'80s, he shifts to film, starting with some comedies.
Yeah, Top Secret.
Yeah?
In 84. You shared the story about him learning guitar for 4 months, and they tell him to just fake it.
I know. Classic Hollywood, right. Then Real Genius in 85, showing he could do that lighter, funny stuff.
Totally. Different kind of charm than what we'd see later.
Yeah.
But 86, everything changes. Top Gun.
Iceman, Kazansky, that name alone, it just oozes that cool, competitive energy.
Doesn't it? But what's funny is Kilmer almost didn't do it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, thought the story was bland, even warmongering, he said.
Wow, given how iconic that role became, that's a trip.
Right. But it shows you sometimes these things happen when you least expect it. And then 88, we get Willow. Fantasy adventure, totally different vibe.
Mad Mardigan, that roguish hero. And this is where he meets Joanne Whalley, right?
On set.
Yeah.
And sparks flew, apparently. They married soon after. Late 80s, professionally and personally, things were looking up.
They really are. And then the 90s hit. It's like this decade where he just delivers these powerhouse performances.
No doubt. We have to start with 91, The Doors. His Jim Morrison is.
Yeah.
It's almost scary how much he became Morrison.
It really is. You dug up all the stuff, didn't just learn lines. He memorized every lyric, sang for real in the film.
Yeah. And the actual Doors guy said his voice was eerily similar to Jim's. He spent a whole year living like Morrison, going to his old spots, just absorbing it all.
That's commitment. And then 93, Tombstone. Talk about another role people still talk about.
Doc Holliday, I'm Your Huckleberry, instant classic.
Michael Biehn said he never even met Val on set. Only Doc. That says it all, right?
Totally. That method acting, it was intense. And the critics loved him for it.
They did. Then 95, he's Batman, Batman Forever. Huge box office. But the critics were less enthusiastic, I guess.
A little more mixed, yeah. Big money maker for sure.
But later, Kilmer said he signed on without reading the script. And he talked about feeling trapped in that suit, creatively stifled.
Interesting. So big hit, but maybe not fulfilling for him as an artist.
Right. And around this time, that difficult reputation starts to really stick.
Yeah. You found some harsh stuff from directors. Joel Schumacher on Batman Forever didn't hold back.
Neither did John Frankenheimer after The Island of Dr. Moreau. Said he'd never work with him again. That's rough.
It is. But then you have Warwick Davis from Willow saying Kilmer was great, funny, dedicated. So which is it?
Right, you get these contrasting views. And then there are those stories, like the guitar prank showing a playful side, but then the Doors thing where he breaks his arm getting into character.
He was complex, no question.
Yeah.
And speaking of complex, that Island of Dr. Moreau shoot in 96.
Mm-hmm.
Legendary mess, right?
From what you gathered, yeah. Creative clashes, logistical issues, Kilmer and Marlon Brando both being, well, themselves.
The original director was even fired. Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It does. So how does Kilmer address this difficult label?
Well, in 2003, he said he saw himself as challenging, not demanding. And later in that Reddit Q&A you found, he talked about maybe not being good at hand-holding and that people mistook his focus for being difficult.
It goes back to that thing about Top Gun, him not liking the message. He wasn't afraid to stand by his convictions, even if it ruffled feathers.
Absolutely. And all this is happening as his personal life is going through its own ups and downs. He and Joanne Whalley divorced in 96 after 8 years.
2 kids, Mercedes and Jack, both actors now too. I've heard the rumors about his reputation, the sex symbol thing, putting a strain on the marriage.
It happens. You found this detail about him finding out about the divorce from CNN in a hotel room.
Ouch. Fame can be brutal. And then all those famous girlfriends, Cher, Cindy Crawford, Angelina Jolie, Daryl Hannah.
Ellen Barkin, too. He definitely wasn't flying under the radar.
Not at all. And Cher said he was one of the few guys to break up with a Cher. That's saying something.
But some of those relationships hit him hard. He said he cried for 6 months after he and Daryl Hannah split. And later, he admitted to being lonely. He hadn't had a girlfriend in 20 years.
Yeah, behind all the glitz and glam, there's a real person there.
Always is. And then, in the mid-2010s, the cancer diagnosis. Throat cancer.
He kept it quiet at first, but then he really became an advocate, raising awareness about it.
He did. The treatments, chemo, radiation, 2 tracheotomies, they changed his voice permanently.
That rasp became part of him. And that documentary, Val, in 2021, gave such a personal look at his journey using all his own home videos.
Incredible footage. And his memoir, I'm Your Huckleberry, from the year before, he was so open about the diagnosis, the recovery.
It really let people see a different side of him. And then Top Gun, Maverick in 2022. So powerful seeing him back as Iceman.
Especially after everything. The way they worked his condition into the story, the limited dialogue, the text on screen.
They even used AI to recreate his voice at times. It was really well done, respectful.
It was. And we should mention his faith, too. Christian Scientist his whole life. It influenced his early approach to treatment.
It all plays a part, right. But we can't forget, he was more than just an actor. You found all these other things he did.
Oh, yeah. Music, visual art, writing. He put out a CD in 2007, Sessions with Mick.
No way. Had no idea.
Talented painter and sculptor, too. Exhibited his work all over. And a writer. Poetry book back in '83, the memoir. And a one-man show about Mark Twain, which he turned into a film.
Citizen Twain, I've heard of that. Man, he really did it all. So as we wrap this up, what do you think his legacy will be?
It's got to be the dedication, the raw talent, the unforgettable characters, and that journey, those highs and lows. Roger Ebert called him the most unsung leading man of his generation back in '92. He got into his roles so deeply, but maybe that intensity, that stubbornness, made some people miss the artistry.
It's interesting how those things can be 2 sides of the same coin.
They often are. The tributes after he died, they show how much he touched people. It's a reminder that behind the fame, there's a whole story.
There always is. Val Kilmer was more than just the headlines, more than the difficult label. He showed us what it means to be dedicated to your art, even when it's tough.
He did. And maybe it makes you wonder if that difficult part, that intensity, that's what made those performances so powerful, so lasting.
It makes you think. So maybe go watch one of his films again. Check out his art, his writing, get a fuller picture of the guy.
He was worth getting to know, that's for sure.
He was. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, everybody.
My pleasure.